There's also slavery there, debtors' slavery. They make bricks. The brick, I call them factories, but they're fields, and there's big kilns. You know what a kiln is? A kiln, they fire it up and they harden the bricks. They put great heat to it to harden it. And those are out in the fields. And the ones that work there are slaves because of debt. And while we were there, a family from Pastor Dean's church said, if a need comes up, let us know. We're prepared. The Lord told us that to give. And at one of the services, a woman showed up to one of the services to receive salvation. And I said, how does she get out? And they said, well, they're not in chains. And her owner was gone. So she slipped away, came to a church service, received salvation, went back. Now the owner was pressuring her to do sexual favors for more money to reduce her debt. And she can't escape his request, but she was denying to do that, but the pressure was there. I said, how did she come to be in slavery? And what was told to me was her husband had borrowed money, and he passed away before he paid it off. They came after her 2 sons, and she said, no, I'll go work it off. And she enrolled them in school. And somehow, when they're enrolled in the education system, they're no longer touchable. And so she was trying to work off their debt. And they were trying to graduate as quickly as possible, but as you know, you can't speed some things up. The oldest was 1 year out before graduation, and she still was working on that debt. And Pastor Dean called that family from his church, and the transition, they started wiring money. And this week, Pastor Katuri is going to be negotiating for her release and to buy her freedom. And for an amount that we would pay for vacation, a small vacation, $2,500 bought her freedom. Bought her from sexual slavery. Bought her from having free will and free choice. And it's going on, and it's legal there. And I said, why don't they just run? Why don't they run away? Because then they would go after the family. They'd go after the next of kin. And then if they did catch them, they could legally kill them. So it's a different culture over there. But God did miraculous signs and wonders. Approximately 200 salvations. We made 5 different stops there. We did 2 services a day. It was more than 5 stops. So it was, we had 22 people baptized. We baptized in a prawn pond. Prawns are like shrimp, and they have these ponds where they grow the shrimp, the prawn, and that's where it was kind of scuzzy. That's where we went in, and we did 22 baptisms that day of people that were recently gave their life to the Lord, and God worked in miraculous ways. So how did He work in miraculous ways? I want to get to that because I saw things I had never seen before, and God used me in ways that had never been used before, and I just want to share some of those stories, and then I'll talk about why I think that happened and why we don't see that here in the States. So multiple people were healed in their body. But more specifically, one gentleman that I prayed for, there's something happened. His left side was not functioning as it should. But through an interpreter, they said that he couldn't see out of his left eye. I'm like, oh boy. So my mind went right away to scriptures. What did Jesus do? And I remembered the verse in the Bible where Jesus spat in the mud and He formed an eye and put the mud in the guy's eye socket. So I looked, well, he had an eyeball. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I licked my thumb, put it on his eye,